Thank you all for waiting. My name is Malaya Pearson of IT Supplies, and I'd like to thank you everyone for joining us today. This webinar is the 7th session of our new series designed to educate and inform. Today, we are joined by Peter Easy, the Territory Sales Manager, and Alicia Wallace, Technical Support Specialist at ONYX. Before we get started, I would like to mention that all attendees will be muted throughout the webinar to reduce background noise. During the webinar, we encourage you to make a note of any questions that you may have. At the end of the presentation, we will hold a Q&A session. At any time, feel free to type whatever questions you have in the question box. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Peter and Alicia. Over to you, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to IT Supplies for hosting this webinar. Like Malaya said, my name is Peter Easy, and I'm the Territory Sales Manager for ONYX Graphics, covering the Southeast and Midwest United States. So I want to talk to you guys today about ONYX TrueFit. ONYX TrueFit is a product we at ONYX Graphics worked in conjunction with a third-party development company to come up with. The goal for making this product was to give end users a tool that allowed them to shape-based nest. And the purpose of shape-based nesting is to save valuable print production time and to maximize media utilization. Now, with TrueFit, what we've been able to accomplish is we've been able to give users a way to reduce their media utilization by up to 50%. Some of the key benefits of TrueFit include the ability to run the program on a Windows or Mac environment. We've also designed this product to be easily accessible, so it will run with our RIP solutions, or if you have existing RIP solutions, you can actually use TrueFit nested files in those RIP solutions as well. TrueFit was also designed with self-licensing in mind, so when you purchase a TrueFit license, we deliver a code to you. The code is tied to an email address, and it is tied to a specific PC. Now, the license can be activated and deactivated on a PC, on one workstation, to move it to a secondary workstation. If you have more questions about TrueFit and how to get your hands on the full product, or if you would like to request a trial, please feel free to reach out to IT Supplies, or you can reach out to me directly. IT Supplies will share my email address, I believe, at the end of this session. If you have any questions about TrueFit, as far as the sales cycle goes, please feel free to reach out to either IT Supplies or reach out to me directly. I'm going to hand over now to Alicia Wallace, and she's going to show TrueFit and what TrueFit can do and how it can help maximize your media utilization. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Peter. All right, so you can see my desktop, and you'll notice I've got my little shortcut here for TrueFit. So I'm going to double-click and launch that program. When the program opens, you're going to first see this little window, and if you've got recent files, you can have a list here. You can clear the recent file list as well. If you've saved TrueFit jobs, you can open previous jobs, but you're going to start new. We're going to click right here and go into new. So right away, one of the nice things that we see is the capability to drag and drop our art files in here. Notice the file format types, PDF, AI, TIFF, etc. So there's a lot of formats that TrueFit will support. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you how this works. I'm going to kind of shrink my window a little bit and then take some files, and I'll bring the frog and I'll drag and drop them in. All right, so we're going to start out. I'm just going to go through and kind of do this in building blocks and building steps. I'm going to start out small with one file, talk about the shape-based nesting, then we'll get into different files combined, and then we'll take a look at a front and back scenario. And we'll also take a look at another capability within here is to create your own path. So one of the things with the TrueFit product is we select our object, that we brought in, our image file, and on the right-hand side, we're able to go through and do our image tracing. So if this comes in, and you'll notice a little bit lower in the screen here, shape, source, trim box. This file just has a trim box to it. There is no path or cut shape. Now, if there was a cut shape from Illustrator, we can support that. We can see that, work with that, and use it. The concept is either we're making this in Illustrator or we're doing it here. And as I'm going to show you, creating the outline shape here, the path shape here is fairly quick. So I'm going to click on this button, Image Tracing. That calls up my trace window. And I've got these different settings to control how my outline is going to be created around this. Starting at the very top, this is where I could select the tool type. You can add to this, you can subtract from it, you can edit, and I'll show you where this is within the software, but this is completely customizable. So, we have our common word cut contour, but there are some other words in the industry or other words that specific cutter manufacturers work with. So we can identify the type of cut information that we want to associate with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit preview, see what I get. The red outline is going to be my path. Well, there's a few areas that could be improved. So I'm just going to go ahead and make some adjustments here and then hit preview again. And again, we would just keep going through until we got this down to the shape we want. So I'll say that's good. At this point, I'm going to hit apply. Now that was creating the trace, the path, the shape. So if you look over here in the lower right corner, shape source now says image tracing instead of trim box. So this has a shape associated to it. All right, so now I have that file. I'm going to set my quantity. In this example, I'm just going to do 16 quantity. And now I want to take this frog with the outline and test it up for 16. So I'm going to go to my third icon here, which is nesting. I'm going to select my substrate. Now the substrate we select here is also an editable component. So you can come in here and you can edit this, add to it, and modify for the sizes that you want to work with. So I'll grab this, like I'm going to go to a 48-inch by 40-inch board, and then I'm going to hit start. Now, when I click start, the calculations are going on to come up with the best combination to get 16 up nested of that frog. That's completed. I can close this window, and now I see that. So again, true shape-based nesting. If I kept that big trim box around the frog, I would be seeing all that extra space, and it would be, pushing out, making it further away, and I wouldn't be optimizing in that blank media area like I am here. So one more thing I'm going to do, I'm going to select this layout, and on the right side, I'm going to click on Fit Layout. So Fit Layout is actually going to optimize the surrounding space of the nesting layout, and I get a little bit more efficiencies and less waste. All right, at this point, I can go to File, and I could save this job. So I could say Save As. I got a folder on my desktop that's like my TrueFit jobs, and I can call this, what did I have here, 16 nested frogs or whatever, the name, coming up with the name is the hardest thing, right? And then that's going to write a TrueFit extension for the job as a .fit, okay? But that's just saving the job. I can always call this up again. You don't have to save the job. It's just one of those situations I'm going to show you. If you wanted to, you could. From here, I am now going to send this to ONYX, export to ONYX. Now, when I export to ONYX, we could have different presets here. These presets are essentially what you see in this menu. And what I'm doing is I'm going to browse to my Thrive Rips input folder, the flatbed printer. I have a cutter quick set made. So this is the hot folder for my cutter that's going to go to my flatbed printer. So I can choose and browse that to that directory and then save this as a preset and name it. And you could have different presets here, different printers, different cutters. So the naming convention is down here, and these are the keywords. I just put in the layout name, I put in the layout dimensions, and then the date and time stamp. But you can kind of see you've got a few items in here to create the name of this layout job that's going to go over to the RIP. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And then I'm going to switch back to my RIP. Here's my file coming in, ripping. There's the name, and here's my nest. Okay, so at this point, I've got my nested frogs. They have the cut path associated to them. I'm going to go ahead and send this over. So I'm going to say print now. When I hit print now, the image data prints, and that cut path, as I selected as cut contour, the cut path is going to land right here. Here it just popped into my cut server, and there's my data. I set that as cut contour, and I have my blade conditions set here to match the cutting conditions set here to match those names that I might be using. So cut contour, score, through, perf, pounds, and so forth. And now that's my cut data. And when I'm ready, I just hit cut now and send my information over to the cutter. And the rest is a common cut workflow. But the whole thing is this nested strategy. So again, taking a look back into TrueFit, if I look at my one-up file, this normally has that bounding box in there. Well, when I go through and do the nesting, I can see that I've got that nested preview, and that is really taking away that extra white space in there. So that's the key thing with this software. It's fast, it does the nesting for me, I can send the data over, very convenient. Okay, now let me go through and I'm going to delete that layout job, delete that artwork file. I'll come in here with a new job. And instead of dragging and dropping, I can go up here to the plus symbol, add artwork, and I could browse. So this time I'm going to come in and I'm going to bring in a couple of different files. So I'm going to combine a few different images. In some cases, people are doing that. They're mixing up their artwork files. So I'm going to bring in the frog. I probably could have left the frog from before, but that's okay. You can see all this procedure again. I'll bring in my ducky. If you guys remember the old Photoshop ducky from the samples folder. And I'm going to bring in a bottle. Okay. Now, 3 different files, 3 different cut paths, 3 different counts and so forth, and cut responsibilities. The cut settings that we apply to it would be under Window, and we see Tool Types. So this is where I could add to or edit my different terminologies here. So cut contour, it's got a display color, for reference visually. And then there's my mappings and my rules that's going to work with that spot color or layer that starts with cut contour. So you can see we've got these different terminologies in here. We could add to this or delete from there. Also under Window is substrates. So this is where I went and added my different roll or board sizes that I'm going to work with. So that's just all controlled right there under Window. All right, so I'm going to start again. I'm going to select my frog. I'll go over to the right side, image tracing, generate my preview, make a few adjustments. Okay, now again, I can specify the frog will be cut contour. I'll hit apply, and I'll click on my ducky, image tracing. Maybe this one I want to be a through cut, preview. And again, I could just make a few little tighten ups there, get a better shape going for my settings. Okay, like what I see, apply. So the frog I have for cut contour, if you see in the lower right corner, the duck I have for through, and now the bottle, image tracing, I'll set that one to score. Now I do have these names in my quick set for my cutter. You do have to identify it, just like we would work in Illustrator. Your spot color name has to match the cut data name in the quick set. Okay, so for the frog, I'm going to go through and I'll set up a count of 4. And for the ducky, I'll set up a count of 16. And for the bottle, I'll make 20. All right. Now, got those set. I'm going to go into my nesting. Let's create a nest out of this. For this, I'm going to grab a 54-inch roll, and then I'm going to hit start. So it's going to calculate. While this is going across, it's calculating the best possible optimized nested shape with the least waste going forward. So this is going through and doing all that creation and calculation for me. So when the information is processed and completed, we're going to see our final nested strategy right there. Now I'll close that out. Again, I'm going to remember to select the layout, and you get a little rundown on the left-hand side of what the assets are and how many count. I'm going to remember to optimize my sheet, so I'm going to say fit layout. And now I can send this to ONYX. Again, I could save the job if I wanted to, but I'm just going to do an export to ONYX, go to the same location, return to ONYX. So this was a 54-inch roll. So I'm going to change my media to match that. All right, so now my file comes in. And one thing I want to show you is I purposely named or identified each of the 3 shapes with a different cut path data. So again, just to remind you, in the quick set, this cutter path prefix, I'm giving those names, cut contour through score. So I know those are my names in my quick set, and so I'm naming them picking those particular cut path names in my TrueFit to identify that path shape and what that cut blade is going to be representing. Okay, so now I'm going to hit print. The imagery would go to my printer, and in Cut Server, I would immediately be getting my file to come in. Oh, I forgot that's flatbed. Yeah, here it goes. So here comes in, and there's my files. Now, on the right side in Cut Server, this file, if I just hover over this layer, those frogs were cut contour, and there we can see cut contour. The ducks were a through cut, and the bottles were a score. So again, if you had something like this, you can organize this and set this up how you like, but each item could have its own type of cut. Or if you have multiple cuts to a file, one type of file or 2, all these files had 2 cuts, we can have them in here as well. It's all in just how that shape is, how those are created. Okay, so let me go back into TrueFit. I'm going to remove the layout. I'm going to select all these at once and get rid of those. All right, I'm going to start out here with my data. So now, if we wanted to create something that was a front and a back, we have a backup. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my art file, and I've got a couple of different variations of the bottle. The key thing here is, remember, the cut shape must be the same cut shape, right? We're going to cut it once, so the imagery can change, and I've got 3 different color bottles, but the size and shape is identical, right? So I'm going to bring in one of my bottles. For this, I'll go ahead and I'll do my image shape, trace image, and do a little bit of some fine tuning here. Okay, again, I can identify what the cut data is supposed to be, apply. Now, over on the right-hand side at the top, I've got front and back or front and front. As soon as I click on the pair front and back, it'll automatically duplicate the front image. So I got yellow bottle in both cases. And if you look at the preview, this front back literally is like a mirror if you're looking from the back side of the bottle, and the words are in reverse, okay? So that's a front, a front back, if you will, of the same image. If I say front, I get a front reading, right reading of the same bottle. You can see that in my preview. So depending on how we need to create this graphic to be a front and a back, if it's the same image where I want to see front and then the mirror of it, or front and front, right reading, I could do that. Now, I can also say front and back and change the back. So to do that, I simply go down where it says back. In this window, yellow bottle, I click, and now I'll grab the green bottle and I'll open that. Okay, now the trace, image trace I did, the path is around the front, and it's going to duplicate for the back, right? It's a same one cut path, but different images. So now I'm going to take my file and set my quantity. I'll do this for 16. And then I'm going to go into my nest, and I'm going to set this up for my 54-inch roll. That's fine. I'll hit start. Okay, so as it calculates this nest and comes up with the way this is going to be, you're going to notice down here, you've got these different strategies. Free nest means everything is possible. It's going to rotate and move them around and do whatever it takes to get the most out of the material. Grid nesting, it's going to try to keep it and conform it to a grid pattern. And then guillotine would be like very much like the chop cut or the straight cut patterning. Okay, so it's going to have different strategies to the way these are going to be set. If we set the rotation to this orthogonal, that means it's going to rotate any possible way to get this to fit. Or if I said none, it's going to keep them as heads up. It's no rotation. All right, now the turn and tumble, I'll show you in the next field here, but let me just go out of the screen. So I've got my calculation. So again, I'm going to select my layout and optimize my sheet. So I'm going to say fit layout. All right, now, if I want to look at the front and the back, I simply double click this layout, and now I can see my front and the back. The dotted line around this, back in the artwork file. So if I go back to the artwork file, the dotted line has to do with this offset, 0.1. 0.1 of an inch is going to be the dotted line from the outside of my cut path, which I did my image tracing as cut contour. So when I go back into my nest, let me go back in here and I double click. That dotted line is that 0.1 offset. So what that would mean is, maybe, but depending on my printer, depending on my cutter, I know I can only get so close. I want a 1.1 inch stay away from the cut so that we don't get too close and maybe the blade has a hard time getting in between here. So 0.1 around all the objects. Okay, now if I wanted to edit this, I've got the front and the back. I could select one of my bottles and I could manually drag it around or rotate it and move it around and do all these edits. But if I wanted to be more precise with my numbers, I could right click it and I could tell this to rotate. So I could tell it to rotate and do a 180 or something to that effect. I could move it around. I could just altogether delete it. And when I do that, the back updates, okay? So my front and my back is going to update. Now, the difference in that double-sided turn or tumble, this is going back to the good old days of stripping, right? Work and turn, work and tumble. So work and turn, as I go to the front and the back, work and turn means same gripper along the bottom, but we flip the work along the side guides. So left to right is being flipped, okay? If I say tumble, then my gripper is going to flip, so top to bottom, and my side guide stays the same. So the things we know from our past in layout and in positioning and so forth, those terms are still valid, of course. They represent the same thing. So anything I modify here, if I click a file, drag it around, move it, delete some things, whatever I do, the back side is going to update accordingly. So now if I like what I see, I go back. Okay, I'm going to send this over. Let me see, I did my fit layout, right? Yep, there we go, fit layout. Now I'm going to say export to ONYX. I'll go to my device again, send that over. Again, that's going directly to the input folder, which is the hot folder. I'm dropping it right into the RIP using a certain quick set for a cutter. So I'm going to see my front, I'll see the back. I'll have both files here. I would print that, flip the sheet, depending turn or tumble, print the back side. And then really I only need one of these instances to go to the cutter, right? So now here's my files on the right. I'll say print now. As soon as I go ahead and I print this information, the cut information immediately goes over to cut server. So I'll go into cut server and I'll start to see my data. And again, I'm seeing my front and my backs, but I really only need one particular set of cut data there. So that's a little bit with one-ups of one file or several files nested or a front and a back scenario. So let me show you one more feature that I could talk about here that we've got. Let me remove all that out of there. And I'll bring in the bird. All right. So sure, I can select this bird and I can go to image tracing and I can set, what I want this to be for my preview, for my outline, and I can create this, tell it to preview, hit just the right spot. Okay. Now, another thing I can do is, and let's say I want 10 of these, I could double click the bird and that puts me into my pen tools or my editing tools. Here's that offset, that dotted line. So if I said 0.5, you'll see that's like the stay away from the cut contour, that orange line around the bird. And again, depending on how we nest, how close things get, this is going to be the buffer, the stay away for when the blade is working from one image to the next. Maybe if it's too small, material gets hung up in between there with the blade or the router or something to that effect, right? So this is just depending on what the needs are for the type of tooling we're using. Now I can go into this edit path mode and I could select my object and I could make edits, or if I go into the pen tool here, very much like we have in Illustrator, I can click and drag my control points. Now, promise me you're not going to laugh. I'm not the best at this. I know, I can hear you snickering. So I'm just going to kind of go around and do a little something here as best I could, as quickly as I could. But just to say, I wanted to make another outline shape here. And let's see, maybe there and there. Oh boy, there, okay. And then I come back around and close. Okay. So this particular outline shape now, I've got this area and I can say, I want to change that to be a through cut or something like that. So the first cut shape I did with the image trace, that could be cut contour, kiss cut, score, and then I go and manually make a larger area or however, and it didn't turn out that bad, but people who are better than me could do a way better job. So let's say I wanted like a little bit of an area just to go around it. Now you can do that. You can edit these, you can add and subtract control points, convert points. You've got a lot of different data that's here. So you could even create your own shapes by hand if you wanted to, for whatever reason, and associate the type of cut data. And then if I go back, I'll see that information here. And now again, that offset is going from the very outer shape I made, right? So I've got a cut contour around the immediate part of the bird. And then I've got this through cut, and then I've got my 0.1 inch around that. Again, that's kind of stay away area, if you will. And now I can go into my back into my nesting, and I can create my nests, tell it my sheet size, and calculate this out, and I get my nested birds. Okay. So again, just to say, there's a lot of different editing and a lot of different capabilities, a lot of different controls. One thing I'll say is you are either bringing in files that have the cut data already assigned from Illustrator, or you are creating the cut data here, whether it's the image trace auto, if you will, create the shape, or manual like I did with the pen tool, combination of those. My point being, it's either cut path shape is identified in Illustrator or cut path shape is created here in TrueFit. So from what I understand, you're not blending the two. Some stuff is in Illustrator and some stuff is in TrueFit. Think of the analogies or the mathematical things to that, the settings to that. It's not the way it would function. So it's either all Illustrator path shapes or all TrueFit created path shapes. And then from there, the nesting, we generate the data, we transfer it over. And again, if I wasn't using ONYX, like Peter said in the very beginning, I'm not using ONYX, but hey, I do like this tool. Well, we can still say export to ONYX. And when we do that, you don't have to go to a hot folder, right? I could just go right to my desktop, drop my file there, and that's going to create a nested PDF file. So it writes out a PDF file coming out of TrueFit. And that's my nested PDF then would be on my desktop to go to another RIP. And it's going to contain all that, cut contour and through cut and so forth. So keep that in mind. That's another way of working with the data. You can actually work with it without necessarily going into ONYX. But again, very fast, very convenient way of working with this. And that's pretty much everything I want to show you about this. So I'd kind of like to go back now and open up the board of any questions you guys might have had out there. I don't know if I can see that myself.
It looks like, let's see. It looks like you've been doing a great job. No one has any questions as of right now, Alicia.
Okay, no problem, no problem. That's fine. So like I said, get a trial of the software. We've got very good videos on our website. You can find that out under, if you log into your ONYX account, ONYX videos. We have some videos about TrueFit there. We also have an ONYX TV YouTube channel, and you can watch some videos there. Very good stuff. And like I said, just good information for reference to kind of see some of the procedures and steps with how the software works. Maybe the YouTube channel is going to be a bit better. ONYX TV, I'll probably find it faster. Yeah, like I said, you can get a trial of this, take a look, see, watch the videos, see what it's all about. And there's good documentation too as far as the user guide goes. So yeah, here's some TrueFit. Introducing TrueFit, getting started with nests, image tools, exporting, all kinds of TrueFit videos here. All right, well, thank you all for your time.
Just to reiterate about the trial, if you want a trial license for the software, there is a couple ways to do it. Alicia, can you go to the TrueFit page?
Yes. Might take a minute to come up, but it'll get there.
So if you come to this page on the website, scroll down, Alicia. Okay, in here when it says to learn more about ONYX TrueFit, put in the information, and in the drop down, specifically, request a 30-day trial. Yes, so if you want a trial, make sure you click that, request a 30-day trial. Once you do that, the system will automate it, and you should receive a trial code. Usually it takes a day or two for you to get the trial code. You can also give your information to IT supplies, and they can send that to me, and I can request the trial on your behalf as well. The trial is valid for 30 days. At any point within those 30 days, you can choose to convert the trial license to a full product. And if you do that, you will retain the same code you used for the trial. If you purchase after the trial is expired, then another code will be sent to you for the software you just purchased. We're happy to put the trial in your hands. We believe in the product, we trust the product, and we would like you guys to try it out. Get back to us with feedback. If you have something specifically you'd like to see in the future, please don't hesitate to let IT supplies know, and they can relay that information. Or again, you can send it to me directly. My contact information can be made available. Please don't hesitate to ask as well.
Thank you so much, Alicia and Peter. That was really great information. At this time, what I'll do is I'll actually just open up the chat box, so that way if you do have questions, go ahead and put those in and we'll be able to answer them for you. While we do wait, once again, I do want to thank Peter and Alicia for sharing such great information with us all. And I'm sure that everyone has just gained a better understanding of how ONYX TrueFit can help grow your business. Let me take a moment to tell you a little bit about IT Supplies. As many of you know, IT Supplies is here to help support your needs for everything related to the perfect print. Our knowledgeable staff and tech support specialists are here to help you with supplies and support to keep your business running. In addition, we are posting daily videos on our YouTube channel to help you with many of your commonly asked questions. Please contact your sales representative for any assistance that you may need. If you don't know how to contact your rep, you can also call 800-771-9665 and ask for a commercial sales specialist. We are here to help you and your business succeed. It looks like we didn't get any other questions inside of this chat box. So that is going to conclude our 7th session of our new educational series for May. Please join us this Thursday and Friday as we take a deep dive into SAI Flexi. And thank you so much again, Alicia and Peter, for your help in coordinating this event. I hope that everyone will walk away from this webinar more knowledgeable. So thank you to all of our attendees. You have been tremendous. And have a great day, everybody. It's Friday. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching this. If you would like to see more of these videos, please go to our YouTube channel.